Hello, sculpture friends. So I want to talk about clay a little bit before we start our final project of abstracting a natural object. Now, one thing to remember when you're working with clay, you do make a mess. So it's wise to have some newspaper or be in this area of your home where your mother or father or guardian will not get crabby at you for creating a mess. So just be mindful of that. The clay that we're using will not stain your clothes, but be mindful and respectful of the folks in your house so you don't leave a mess behind, and clean up afterwards. So we are using a low fire clay. Clay comes in low fire, mid fire, and high fire, and it is all dependent on what the temperature of the kiln needs to be at for each one of those clay bodies. So we are using a low fire white, and everybody has a little chunk of clay in a bag. Remember that the moment you open up the bag, air is exposed to that clay and it starts to dry out. And the clay currently is in what is called a green state. It is in a green state until the moment it gets fired. The moment it gets fired, it's called bisqueware. And then we add a glaze to it, and then we put it in a glaze kiln, and then it is your finished product. So now what does all this mean? So we're working on sculpting out our natural object. We're working on it and in the green state. When we start to let the air come in and take away some of the moisture out of it, it starts to dry. And then it becomes known as leather hard. You can still feel the moisture in it. If you hold it up to your cheek, it feels cold. And you can do a little bit of manipulation, but very little. And in fact, I would avoid it if at all possible, because your clay is very delicate and it could break at any moment. It's fragile. And then once all the moisture is evaporated from the clay, it becomes bone hard. And that is a moment where it is very fragile or fragile. So be very careful. Handle it with so much love and care. One thing I like to do when I'm working on a project is I make sure to wrap it up carefully back in plastic when I'm done working on it. And I don't let it dry out until I'm feeling completely done. So just think about that as you're working in the clay. So the other thing that we want to think about is when we are working on our object, we want to maybe attach one piece to another, and that's called slipping and scoring. And we use slip, which is liquid clay in suspension. And so basically it's clay that has kind of become like gravy-like, and it acts like a glue when you attach two pieces. And I'll demonstrate that right now for you. So I'm gonna open up my bag of clay. So here we go. I have my lovely bag of clay. We're in my studio right now. It's a lovely Sunday afternoon at home. So I have my chunk of clay here. And I am working on sculpting my object as how it looks. And let's say I am working on this little rock kind of or log. Why don't we do that? A very funky stick, and I have some over here. And here is my piece, but this is, here, let me get this a little bit more manipulated. And I'm finding out that I'm working with my hands a lot. I sent lots of tools home with you, and those tools, hopefully you got to experiment with them a little bit, can really be helpful. I also think about different textures that I could roll on to my sculpted piece, and I can add texture that way. I also have an old nail file that I can use to kind of add some other texture. I can use a fork or a knife, it doesn't matter. So right now you can see I am working on my sculpture and I want to attach a piece. And what I would do is I would take some of one of my tools and I would score the surface. So I'm going to score the surface with just X's, kind of marring that up. And then I want to attach this piece, and this is just an example. I want to attach this piece to that other piece, and I am scoring it. So I have these two sections that are scored. Now I need to take liquid slip, and I'm not expecting you all to make it at home, but the best way I do this is I take a sponge, and I think you all got a sponge sent home with you, one of these, and I dip it in some water. And I want to be careful not to oversaturate anything, because if I use too much water, it's going to fall apart. So I'm just going to use water, and I am really kind of creating a little bit of a mud puddle there. And I'm going to do it to the other piece, kind of creating a mud puddle. And I am going to blend those two areas together that I used slip. So that is how you attach two pieces. You're slipping and scoring. And then when you are like, oh, I gotta go work on my Spanish homework, I gotta put this to the side and I can't work on it anymore, I'm gonna take a paper towel from home, and you're just gonna use this one paper towel over and over. You're gonna put it in some water, and you don't wanna oversaturate anything, because remember, it'll fall apart. So I've wrung out my paper towel in water, and I am going to take my sculpture, my in-progress sculpture, and I'm going to wrap it in the paper towel. And then I'm either gonna slide it back into the bag that I'm using, or I'm gonna find another bag and slip it into another Ziploc at home, or some saran wrap or something to keep the moisture in. And I'm gonna put it in a safe spot to work on. So what you should be working on at home right now is working on getting that first and second piece created of your abstraction. Now, if you're on a roll, keep on going, just keep going. In the end, you're gonna end up with 5 pieces. So the first one will be how the object looks. The second one is gonna have it still look like the original object, and then it's going to slowly abstract into your 5th one, which is your final abstraction. In our next video, we will talk about creating a base for your project. I really hope everybody's having a great day and a great week. I wish I could see all of you in person, and I'm sending positive thoughts and vibes to everybody in our class. Have a star quality day, make good choices, and remember, kindness matters in this very big world. Bye now, we'll see you soon.